this with, and I guess we need to make a motion, but with instructions to attempt to get someone from SGV LGBTQ or LA LGBTQ Center or Equality California for June, and then maybe the topic of civic engagement after that, because our primaries are coming up and people have to register, and then pulling from the rest of the list depending on availability for the remainder of the meetings. Is that good enough, or do we need to give you specific months beyond that that we would like to see each presentation?
My apologies, we were having technical difficulties. So we can definitely go with that. If we're okay with June being Pride Month, and then we'll find a speaker that fits in alignment with that, we can definitely do that. As far as the civic engagement is concerned, did we want to put that at a particular month, like potentially October, just before the November elections? I mean, I think we're missing, no? Or we're
October's
okay
too late for voter registration.
Okay. So maybe,
Yep.
do we have a particular month in mind?
August, I would say.
August, okay. We can definitely find out. Yeah. And then all of the other months will just go based off of this list with whoever's available at those times. Perfect. If we can just have a motion based off of kind of what we said, just in case there's anyone that maybe has a concern, if there's no further comments.
I have just one last further comment. Now, when we, going through the list, I feel like there's some stuff that we can consolidate, right? Some of them are overlapping. Once we solidify the list, and hopefully we can get something for the rest of the year, is there a way to publish that we're going to be speaking on these topics on our website?
Yeah, so I think that was the intent, to get everything solidified, so that way we can create the page under the HERE Commission and then work with Clara in advance of the meetings rather than like a couple days before it needs to be published. Or so it's definitely going to require staff to really plan ahead and get it on the books, but I'd rather plan ahead than we'll leave you guys without the support that you're looking for. So we can definitely do that. As far as the overlapping ones, we wouldn't have like SGV LGBTQ Center and Equality California, but it would kind of be one or the other based off of the direction that we've been given so far.
Those are our backup in case people aren't available. So
yeah.
So if I could have a motion to schedule the presentations from the list provided, with June being a representative for Acknowledgement of Pride Month. I guess that's the motion.
I'll move. I'll move, as you said.
And I'll second. Yeah, or go for it. You can, no, that's all yours.
And a second by Commissioner Borja. Danielle, can you take the vote, please?
Commissioner Borja?
Aye.
Commissioner Brenha? Absent. Commissioner Fitzsimmons?
Aye.
Commissioner Herrera?
Aye.
Commissioner Khan? Aye. Vice Chair Goto?
Aye.
And Chair Jennings-Nunez?
Aye.
Motion passed by the vote of 6 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. So moving on to the engagement survey, is there any direction or any input for staff concerning the engagement survey?
So, if I may, quick question. What are the demographics of the city of San Gabriel? Do we know it off the back?
As with regards to kind of the ethnic background or
right.
the okay,
right.
So it's approximately 60% Asian population, 20% again, these are approximate numbers, Hispanic, and then kind of everything else. I could be.
I think it's like 65 almost percent
right.
Asian,
65
and
Asian and 25.
a little over 25%.
Hispanic,
Hispanic,
Latino,
or whatever. Yeah, that not what, but that category. Where does that leave us? About 10, I think, to 12% Caucasian,
right.
And then a small percentage of other races.
Right, and the only reason I bring that up is because I'm looking at the numbers right here, and it's not fully, of course, we don't have a good test size just yet. It doesn't really fully represent the people in San Gabriel. And just to add on that, my question is, how do we know that the people that are taking the survey are residents of the city of San Gabriel, or does that even matter? I think it should matter, right? Because we want to represent the city, the residents, right?
I think we're just attempting at this point just to get engagement on some level. I don't know if there is a way to restrict it to only San Gabriel residents. Matthew mentioned that probably a lot of these were generated from Councilmember Menchaca's newsletter. I know that has probably a broader reach than San Gabriel, but it is primarily San Gabriel, and that's where we've been advertising it. So at this point, I'm just happy to get as many responses as hopefully this represents, although I will say I can't remember if I did this twice, so I might have been one of those people who sent in 2 responses. I'm not sure, but so I don't know if there is a way to limit people to 1 response. Maybe we should look at that so that we don't have a skewed sample of people who are either purposely or not purposely sending in more than one response. So
maybe having a question. I mean, I don't want to add on to it, right? Giving an extra burden, but adding a simple question of something in the form of, are you a resident of the city of San Gabriel? I mean, if you're not, that's fine. We still want to hear the feedback. Like Chair Jenny Nunez mentioned, we just want to get some kind of feedback so we can work on that.
any other comments?
So how do we understand the summary of these survey? What are a few points that we can say, this is what the citizens think and want?
I think we might need some more input before we can make that determination,
Right,
as Matthew said.
So at this point, we have a deadline, right? We still have that deadline that we're going to reach. This is just preliminary. It's just a sample right now. So do we remember? I don't remember the deadline. Do you remember, Matthew? Does anybody remember the deadline?
June 30th is the
Okay.
first deadline,
Okay.
and then August 2nd was our second deadline.
So at that point, I'm gonna assume that we're gonna go through all that data. I'm pretty sure we will, right? Matthew will go through every single number slide by slide at that point.
Yes, we can
Right,
definitely prepare something even nicer than my printed out packet here.
This is good enough, man.
That
This
would
is
be,
good enough.
and go through each
Right.
one, yeah, so
Right.
that's not a problem.
But to your point, I think this gives us an opportunity right now to see where we're missing
Right.
people. So,
Right.
yeah,
Perfect.
to your point, if our ethnic groups are not matching up, maybe we need to focus our outreach in certain areas. And as Matthew
Right,
pointed out, we had
right.
nobody under the age of 18. So,
So-
for our youth output, we definitely need to do some stronger recruitment.
Well, I think this is just a beginning. We're just
Yeah.
beginning to learn.
Right.
This is kind of a trial, really, is what it is. And then we can start tweaking it as we go along and say, hey, look, we want to focus on a particular group, for the next survey, and maybe not make it quite as long, because I think probably the youth, they have a short attention span, and they don't want to answer all these questions. So it's like, for the youth, maybe something a little bit different.
I think if you don't have a lot of, if you go through and just use the multiple choice, you can pretty much get through it in 5 minutes. But I think the fact that people wanted to add comments is good, as Matthew noted. It means
Right.
they were interested in giving us their, feedback. But if you don't make additional comments, I think you can get through it pretty quickly.
I will say to Commissioner Khan's question that there were some points that Matthew kind of summarized in his presentation, and a few of those are that the top 3 answers in terms of people's interests are what we are looking at, which is civic engagement, cultural awareness and education, and mental health services. And those are kind of 3 themes that we are really concentrating on this year. that we can also, we have the information that we need to reach out in a particular way to the youth, but at least for mostly the adult responders that we received, that the way that they want to receive information is through our city's website, through the City Beat newsletter, and through Facebook, so we can hopefully focus our efforts at, in those places with Clara. So these responses, I do think were very helpful, and as you said, certainly a giant plus compared to the 5 I think we had at our last meeting. So thank you, Councilmember Menchaca, for putting it in her newsletter. It was also, I think, available at the last, what was the city, at the thank you, at Cinco de Mayo festival. And speaking of city festivals, just a reminder that we did say that all of those who entered by May 31st, that we would have a drawing at the June 16th Surf's Up event, and there would be a $50 gift card. So Matthew, if you could please remind us of that, or if we could figure out those emails that we collected by May 31st and make that announcement on June 16th.
Definitely. So, sorry, no, go ahead.
I just wanted to add with regards to the youth, I'll go ahead and I'll send an email to the principals at Del Mar, Gabrielino High School, and the middle school to see if they can somehow include the link for the survey to the students and the parents as well. So I'll take care of that.
So logistically speaking, I think I was the one who set the May 31st deadline. Sorry, it probably should have been June 30th. But if we're giving the first incentive prize out on 16th, shall we say that anyone then June 1st to the next August 2nd deadline will be eligible for another incentive item?
I think so, and I may have said May 31st. I'm not sure
No,
where the
I
May
think I
31st
did it.
came from, but I definitely wanted to utilize the June 16th
Surf's Up, yeah.
Surf's Up event in terms of promoting this. So, but yes, I would agree, and I don't know if we have to have a motion to do that, or if we can just provide direction.
Yeah, I think for that direction is fine. My only question would be for this, if the commission wants to continue it through the August date, did the commission want to include another incentive on that round as well? That would be the only
I think we
question.
should. I can take it upon myself to try to come up with an incentive. You can, okay. Commissioner Khan and I will put our heads together and come up with something. And I think it'll be good also at the Surf's Up to, as we give the incentive away, to let people there know that there's another opportunity. So if they haven't filled it out, maybe we can help them with the link and get that done as well.
So for now, I guess we will continue with the survey as it is, unless it is possible to add a question about residency. Is that something that?
Yeah, if there's consensus amongst the commission, we can add it in at the end. That way the numbering stays the same.
Okay. And our first deadline is going to be May 31st with an announcement for the incentive on June 16th, and then we're going to have June 1st through August 2nd, and then we will find another time to make an announcement for the second incentive.
You can do it at National Night Out.
At National Night Out. So it'll have to be through August, then let's say through July 31st. That gives you a
Okay.
couple days to figure out who the winner is.
Okay. So if I just may, I just want to recognize Haley and Sarah that were at the Cinco de Mayo event. They were doing really good and getting people to scan the barcodes, and they were really excited about doing that. I went to speak to them, and they said, one of them ran up to me and said, "Oh, well, we're having issues. Somebody can't access it." I don't know if we were able to figure that out. Remember, Rebecca, I think I mentioned it to you. So I don't know if that's part. Besides, I want to give them credit for being out there, but I don't know if the technical difficulties is playing out to a survey of this short taking so long.
Sure.
Because it shouldn't really take that more than 5 minutes. I think there's probably some technological stuff going on, possibly.
I'm not sure. As I taken the survey and it went smoothly. Maybe there were a lot of people accessing the code that day. So there was a bug or that kind of thing, but
Okay.
at least when I went through it,
Mhm, mhm.
it went very smoothly.
I think that point, there was probably just one person. I don't know if there were like two people trying to access it and overloaded the system or something. But yeah, I think it was just one person trying to access it, and they were having a hard time. I don't know if they ended up submitting the survey or not, but just something to look into.
Yeah, we'll look into it
I
to
told
make
her
sure
to-
it's functioning.
I told her to take screenshots. I don't know if she did that or not. but-
Yeah, I'll follow up with the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions concerning the engagement survey, Matthew?
I think that's plenty of direction. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you
So-
going to tweak the survey anymore, or the questions anymore, or this is the final?
I was just going to say, I think in order for us to be able to collect the data consistently, that we have to keep it for now. And then I think after the August 2nd deadline, we can take a look and see if there's other things that we want to add or subtract, depending on, you know, the feedback that we get. But for us to be able to compile the data, we have to keep the survey the same, except for maybe that one question at the end.
Okay, thank you. So moving on now to our big project for this year is the Mental Health Forum. So why don't we start with, why don't we start with something easy, the date. So we have 2 dates proposed that are open at the Grapevine. We also have a proposal to have it outside of the Grapevine at one of the schools. So 2 questions, I guess. One is the location. Is there any other discussion about location? I personally would like to have it at the Grapevine and kind of the city central, but Commissioner Borja did bring up some good points if you want to discuss those again.
No, I had proposed maybe having it at the high school where there's more students can get involved, help out with you know, the event planning beforehand and shutting it down. There's also classrooms for the separate little workshops that they have there. They have a multi-purpose room, a theater. Those are what I was proposing. However, I know that Chair Jennings, you had mentioned that there was a health event, a fitness event at the Jefferson Middle School that wasn't well attended. So I am open to starting it at the San Gabriel Mission, or I'm sorry, the San Gabriel City event outside of the school, and then maybe for another year, depending on how well it's attended, we can look at another place.
Just an FYI, on September 11th, there is another city event that is planned. Sammy Malouf has a fundraiser, Stunts and Fun, and he's already pulled permits for that. So that's going to be on that Sunday.
Who is that? A city? Is this Sammy
Malouf.
Oh.
He lives in the city,
Mhm.
and it is an event that is a fundraiser for the Humane Society.
Okay.
So it is on that particular day.
So with the September, I'm really uncomfortable with the September 11th date, to be honest. Okay, I don't think we should have that on that event, that particular event on that date, and just hold that date as what it is, September 11th, you know, remembering the fallen, and letting people have their time to go to those events and to remember that special event. I think we shouldn't do it. I move to not do it on that date, and just possibly, with respect to that particular date, do it on another date.
Is September 11th or 18th was the Humane Society?
11th.
Okay. So
And Commissioner Jennings, I just wanted to let you know that Commissioner Brenhoff has put together kind of like a Google Docs and putting some information out. So she does have the date as tentative as September the 18th, and the time between 12 and 4, and the location, Mission Playhouse, Courtyard, and some San Gabriel Community meeting rooms as well. So that's what we're working on in a Word doc, Google Doc.
So maybe because Commissioner Brenhog has put together some things, and we do have a committee, that we can have the committee bring a little bit of information to us at the next meeting, but it sounds like, yes, we would like to have breakout sessions. I would like to have a keynote speaker, but I'll make that known here, and the committee can discuss it and bring it back. I don't know how people feel, but I think Matthew's idea of registration for at least the breakout sessions and the keynote speaker would be nice. It would also be open to the public. You don't have to pre-register, but I think registering beforehand will, as you said, give people some incentive to actually show up and kind of give us an idea in terms of count, so we have the right location or space or to accommodate people. Marketing, we will do that once we get everything. And then create a name, I guess, is the one that we have been stumbling over for the last few meetings. I don't know if Commissioner Brenhog has any information about a name.
Not yet. I mean, she just has it titled San Gabriel Valley Mental Health Expo. So, but we haven't yet come together and decided on what's a appropriate name.
That one sounds good to me. So unless we want something that is, you know, more catchy or an acronym or something of that nature, I think for right now we can at least title it the San Gabriel Mental Health Expo. I think that encompasses all that we want to do, which is a fair and booths and the breakout session and one main speaker, and all of it will be underneath that.
I would also propose maybe just besides the mental health, but including wellness, mental health and wellness expo.
Can I add something? June 25th, our mayor, Tony Ding, is holding with the Chinese Association, I believe, that he's holding a health fair. And I wanted to sort of get the team together to see if we can get some input from him and his team. But I think I haven't heard, so I think maybe it's in the works, so we could probably coordinate with him and sort of learn some things about what he's doing. I believe he's done it every year for several years now. Last year, I know I attended that, but it was mostly health and one or two workshops too, if I remember there. But at least there was a health fair that they offer a lot of other services too. So it's on 25th June. You know, we can probably learn a little bit from that too.
So Commissioner Khan, I think you're on the committee also for this event. So if you are, I don't know who will be able to attend, and certainly whoever attends can bring back information for the rest of the commission, but if you attend, would you also please bring back some information? I think a lot of similar groups are attending a number of functions in the area. So LA County Department of Public Health, I know, was at the health fair that was put on by the city. They were at the fire department because City Councilwoman Rivera asked them to be at the fire department, so the fire day. So I spoke with them again that day, and they actually have a list of already kind of prepared presentations on different mental health topics in different and they have different languages available, speakers written in different languages, so that might be a place to draw from presentations. I'll provide you with their handout. So if we could just give that information to Matthew, and Matthew, if you can pass it on to the committee if we have any resources, and then whoever you might speak to. I think we've just been gathering cards from various sources and then providing those to, or holding on to them to provide them to somebody. So we'll provide them to Matthew for the committee.
Yeah, this past Saturday, we're at the Play Day LA Laguna, and it seems like they're, as you said, that they have already slides and folks who are ready to speak on mental health. Yeah.
They've been at a number of functions, so I think it will not come as a surprise to them when we ask them to come to this function, because they've been asked, I think, already several times. We just need to provide a date for them. Good.
So I have a question. So my question is, how accessible is it going to be to the community, right? It sounds like it's probably only going to be in English. And to be honest, I know we have a lot of Asians in the community that speak not only Vietnamese and Mandarin and Cantonese, but how do we ensure that they get the information as well and they benefit from this great service that we're going to provide?
So I don't think that the plan is for it will primarily be in English, just because I think most functions are primarily in
Right.
English, but the LA County Department of Public Health does have translators and presentations in other languages that are already prepared if we want to utilize those.
Okay,
And
good.
there are a number of public health professionals. So I've already spoken to a couple of psychiatry residents at USC that are eager to be a part of this day if we would like them to, and a couple who speak non-English languages. So I think we can certainly reach out to people who speak other languages and ask them to participate. But at the very least, the LA County Department of Public Health has a number of presentations that they can give in the languages that we would primarily look for here for our San Gabriel residents.
Sounds good. And how many speakers are we gonna have?
Currently, the discussion was maybe like 2 workshop choices, and this is what she wrote, simultaneously for a total of 6 different presenters. However, I think we are contacting a lot of presenters, and some of them are, you know, China Service Center, City of Hope, Chinatown Service Center, City of Hope, Fuller Psychology Family Services, San Gabriel Met Team, Pacific Clinics, Asian Pacific Family Center. We've got MFTs, Asian Youth Center, Children's Hospital, former students, current college students. We have a lot.
Sounds like a lot.
We're
Good.
But
trying-
I don't think
Good.
all of those will be presenters.
No,
They
not
will,
yet.
a number
We're
of those will be
contacting.
booths. I mean, I
Oh,
hope
I
that
see.
they are all participating, but there will be many different ways for them to participate. So
Yes.
some may just have a booth with information.
Yes.
You'll narrow down those people who are actually going to be presenting and in breakout rooms, and who the keynote speaker will
Right,
be.
we might have panel, panel discussion. So it could be 6 on a panel, and if there's maybe, let's say, 3 different workshops, right? There could be 3 panels of 6 people, just depending on the topic.
I'd only do 3 on a panel,
Oh.
just for time's sake.
So when we're talking about time, how long is it supposed to be, like the whole event?
So tentatively, we're looking at 12 to 4. 12 would be a kickoff ceremony. There's discussion of like a workshop from 12:30 to 1:30, another workshop, 1:30 to 2:30. There would be some little bit of breaks, right, for movement breaks, 2:30 to 3:30, and then 3:30 closing ceremony. Yeah.
So I hope that we're also, or my suggestion to the committee is that we also make it not so scheduled, so that there is a fair kind of component to it for people who just are walking past and want to go by a booth and gather information, so that it's not also prescribed. So it's a combination of the two, that people can pre-register for presentations and pre-register for the speaker or walk into the speaker, but there's also just a component of kind of a health fair as it also.
So if you put it in that setting, is there gonna be anybody directing them? At some point, like, okay, what do you wanna have? This is what we have. This is what we got going on. Okay, we need more people here, so let's send them over here. But I guess it's gotta be up to them too, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, and that will come in the marketing, and this is just providing, I think, information to the committee, and so the committee's going to hopefully meet and discuss and work with Matthew, and then at our next meeting, hopefully we'll be able to make some more concrete decisions so that we can move forward. So that'll be June, and then we will have July, August, 2 months to put it together. So I think next meeting will be where we discuss a lot of the concrete elements of it.
So I understand the concern of that we had it at a school before, some kind of function, but I think eventually if we can get it at a school and we can oversee it, I think it will be a great setting, especially if we do it like on Gabrielino High School. That's more center, and we can reach people from South San Gabriel and North San Gabriel, from all over and all around. And it just gives you that safety kind of sense. To me, it gives you that kind of sense of safety. You're in school, you're in a public place. And then that will be more inviting for the people that are the actual students that are there.
So I guess it depends a little bit on who our audience is. And for this first one, I kind of want to cast a wider net. What I meant when I said that we had a function at Jefferson is it was attended, but I think people assumed that it was a school function because it was on the school grounds. and so it didn't seem as open and as inviting for the whole city. It was also a little bit hidden, so you had to actually specifically go to Jefferson to attend the event, or you'll have to go to Gabrielino to attend the event. You're not going to get a lot of traffic walking by. So I like what you're saying. I like what Commissioner Borja is saying, that in next year, once we establish this event, so then next year people hopefully look forward to it and recognize it as a city-sponsored, or here commission-sponsored event, then we can move the location to that place. But we do want to reach out to more than just the youth. I think we're reaching out to a larger audience, so thank you. Okay, any other input or questions? That went faster than I thought. Good. And we have a name now. So it's the San Gabriel Mental Health and Wellness Expo on September 18th.
I think Commissioner Brenha's suggestion was San Gabriel Valley.
San
Do
Gabriel
we
Valley.
want it San Gabriel
Okay.
Valley or San Gabriel?
So I guess in the sense that Commissioner Herrera, for a lot of the evening, has said that we should focus our attention on our city and on our residents, I think we should say San Gabriel. And that doesn't exclude anybody who wants to come, but I really think our marketing is going to be to San Gabriel.
Okay. And then I think an additional suggestion was to add in the wellness component, so San Gabriel Mental Health and Wellness Expo. Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good. So we finished those three items, and if it's okay, if we can just, well, we finished those three items. Is there anything else that people want to discuss in terms of our 2022 work plan for tonight?
Is having a job fair completely out of the table at this point
Yes.
for 2022?
Yes.
I feel there's a huge need. I mean, I just saw Starbucks. I went a couple of times, and it's completely closed. And I'm like, I got to go somewhere else to get a coffee. And I think they have some kind of job fair or just some kind of recruitment going on pretty soon, or if it didn't happen already, right? So that's completely off the table.
I think yes, is the short answer. We have a lot kind of packed in already to this year. I know there are a number of job fairs going on in the area, and I've seen, again, in Councilmember Menchaca's newsletter that she's trying to get the word out about different opportunities and jobs out there, but I don't think we have the capacity to do that this year. So if there aren't any other comments or any other input in terms of the 2020 work plan, is there anything that we need to vote on, Matthew, or this is all?
I think that's it. If the commission, it sounds like there's consensus on the date and kind of the general information, so I'll just be in touch with the committee members, so in that way, and if you need my help from anything, just let me know. But otherwise, hopefully at the next meeting, the commission or the committee members will be able to have everything finalized and ready to present to the rest of the commission, and a vote can take place at that time, so then staff can start advertising and do whatever else you need from us.
Thank you. Okay. So agenda item 4B, which is the land acknowledgement statement. So the land acknowledgement statement advisory committee members and staff, which are myself, Commissioner Brenhag, and Matthew, are going to provide an update on the progress made toward the development of a citywide land acknowledgement statement. Matthew, do we have any public comments on this discussion item?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. So the time for public comment on this item is now closed. Matthew, would you be able to provide us with an update prior to our discussion?
Of course. So the Land Acknowledgement Statement Advisory Committee was able to, well, I guess going back, they were able to have their two individual meetings. So the HERE Commission members, Chair Jennings and Commissioner Brenha, were able to meet with Chief Morales, and then the two members from the HBCRC were able to meet with Chief Salas. And then at the last Land Acknowledgement Statement meeting, they were able to kind of compare the items that overlapped and begin giving instruction to staff as far as what that statement could look like. So at the next meeting, which we're hoping for June 9th, So we'll be sending that out to staff and the committee members to see if that works for them. We've just confirmed that that's an available date for the council chambers. So at that meeting, the hope is to have everything kind of somewhat wrapped up as far as the actual statement, and then including information as to where it could be used, and then staff will take that to council as a full report on behalf of the Land Acknowledgement Statement Advisory Committee. It was a great discussion, so I appreciate the committee's patience and how long it's taken in between the meetings. And I know we were hoping to get a meeting scheduled even before the HERE Commission meeting tonight, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But hopefully we'll get that done in June, and then we'll have a full report for you again at the June HERE Commission meeting.
Thank you, Matthew. And for those who are interested, the meetings are live streamed, so it is available on YouTube. Our meeting was on May 9th, I believe. And I just want to read for you. So at the beginning of our meeting, we did affirm the purpose statement for the Land Acknowledgement Advisory Committee. And so that purpose is the Land Acknowledgement Statement serves as a clear and ongoing commitment from the City of San Gabriel to respect and acknowledge the Native peoples of San Gabriel for their past, current, and future contributions to the region. So that was the purpose statement that we developed on one of our earlier meetings. And as Matthew said, at our last meeting, we were able to actually begin to develop the language that we want to propose for the land acknowledgement statement. And hopefully at our next meeting, we're going to start to put that together, and then it will be presented to various stakeholders, and including this commission. Hopefully I will bring it back for you in the next meeting. Thank you. Are there any questions? Good. So we will move on to agenda item number 5, which are commission reports. Each commissioner may address the HERE Commission in public on matters of general information and/or concern. This is also the time for commissioners to report on conferences and/or meetings that they have attended. And we can just start with Commissioner Khan.
I just attended the last play at the LA Laguna sort of event on Saturday, and it was very well attended. They had, and this was my first time. I think all the council members, 3 of them were there, and it was a good event. And I think I've learned a lot about the mental health services that they had booth. And I believe Commissioner Fitzsimmons had her booth there, and Asian Youth Center, and then maybe a few other folks had their booths. And it was pretty knowledgeable in terms of what I've learned about these organizations.
So I attended the Cinco de Mayo event. It was great. The live music, and then we had somebody singing, impersonating Selena. I thought that was so cool. Almost went up there and danced, but it didn't happen. I just saw all the little kids and the community. There's a lot of diversity too, and a really heartwarming experience just to see all the community come together in these types of events. For the residents of San Gabriel out there, I just want to make sure that you guys know that to come out here, we're sitting in an empty chamber. You guys see only us here, but we're pretty much sitting in an empty chamber. I want to hear more about you. I don't want to speak about it for everybody, but I want to see more people here, more people participating and asking questions. And if you have any comments, please make sure you submit those comments, because we want to make sure that we're representing you properly. I know we're all doing a great job here. All of you guys are doing a great job, but I feel I want more input from our residents. So welcome, please.
Thank you. I had a few things that I was going to report out on, but in light of events that took place today and in the recent past, we've had another mass shooting, as we acknowledged at the beginning of this meeting, in Uvalde, Texas. And there have been 210 mass shootings in the United States just this year. So I'd like to share some resources that Facing History and ourselves has put together. It was really in response to the Buffalo, New York shooting, which targeted African American grocery patrons, and the Laguna Woods shooting, which targeted Taiwanese churchgoers. So, you know, for parents, the resources that were created were really for teachers, and it's teaching in the wake of violence. But I think the resources could be very helpful for parents as well, and how to talk to your children about what's been happening. So those resources are available on the Facing History website, which is facinghistory.org. They're listed under teacher resources and current events. And there are a lot of, I think, really good prompts and discussions that may be helpful for people who are trying to deal with the aftermath of what continues to happen. So I wanted to share that, and then I will also just share, as we come to the conclusion of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a couple of opportunities to participate in live theater performances. So East West Players in downtown Los Angeles is presenting Interstate, which is a new musical by Kit Yan and Melissa Lee from June 2nd to the 22nd. And they describe the show as a soaring pop rock musical with immense heart about two transgender people at different stages of their journey, navigating love, family, masculinity, and community in the era of social media. The June 13th and 20th shows are pay what you can. So you can pay what you can for your tickets, and the full schedule and ticket prices are available at eastwestplayers.org. And the second one is the Sierra Madre Playhouse, which is our neighbor, is presenting The King of Yees through June 12th. And for nearly 20 years, the playwright Lauren Yee's father, Larry, has been a driving force in the Yee Family Association until now. And you can find out more about the story and special $5 student ticket prices at sierramadreplayhouse.org. So I hope people will take advantage and go out and enjoy some live theater. That's it for me.
Thank you, Vice Chair Godos. And that was just a perfect segue into a number of things. So as you said, May did recognize Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Native Hawaiian Heritage Month. I know that we didn't have a specific event in San Gabriel for that, but there were a number around the city, and we did have an event at Vincent Lugo Park, which is Block the Hate, that was sponsored by Compassion SGV, which goes along right with what you were saying in terms of our recent hate-related shootings around the country and here locally. So please do take advantage also of those mental health resources. This May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, so it is a good time to investigate those resources for mental health and wellness. As you said, coming up in June, as we said earlier in the meeting, June is Pride Month, so we're hopefully going to be able to recognize that at the end, but there will be many, many events, I'm sure, around the city are celebrating Pride Month. And then June 19th, if you remember last year, so June 19th is Juneteenth, which recognizes the report of, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, it took a while for word of it to get to the rest of the country. And so June 19th is the date that supposedly was announced in Galveston, Texas, and the Emancipation Proclamation information was brought to the enslaved people there. While it didn't make a huge difference in terms of the daily lives of most enslaved people, it is recognized as Emancipation Day by many African Americans, or a large number of African Americans in the country, and it was made a federal holiday last year. So there will be a Juneteenth celebration in Pasadena, so not very far away, at the Jackie Robertson Community Center on June 18th. If you would like to participate with that, that will be a great event. And that's it for me.
I have two events that I attended. I attended last month, the bias training, and I was kind of sad that the commissioners were not recognized in the Colorado Boulevard newsletter that you put out, that your fellow commissioners were not recognized because we were there to support the bias training. The other thing that I attended was a community meeting this last month, and the keynote speaker was Andrew Salas, and he brought forward a lot of information that I'm very concerned about. Last year, you went to the city council and had a proclamation that the Tonga tribe was the native tribe to San Gabriel. They are not. They are not recognized by the state of California as being the native tribe. The Gabrielino tribe is the native tribe to the San Gabriel Valley and to San Gabriel. They are recognized by the state of California as being the native tribe. They also have a 501 nonprofit that they work with. In the 60s, a group of people got together that represented the Tongas, and they went to the state to get recognition because they wanted to open a gambling casino, and that didn't happen. My question to you and to you is, are you going to go back to the city council and right this wrong that the Tongas were given that proclamation that they are the native tribe of the city of San Gabriel, and they're not? The Gabrielinos should be recognized. It is their right to be recognized to our city. And I think it's very concerning that being on the HERE Commission that we're putting out misinformation.
So just since there were two questions or comments kind of directed, is one, but the bias training that you attended last month, what bias training was that? The bias training that the city offered to the city employees was previously, and that was the article that I wrote for that coloradoboulevard.net. I don't have a newsletter, and I did mention the commissioners and the city council people who attended that. So the bias training that you attended last month, would you like to tell us who sponsored that or what bias training that was?
No, Matthew was there with me. It was on a Friday, and as well as Karina Rivera. It's the same bias training.
Is it, I think the one that you're referring to is the Brown Act training and the ethics training. Is that the one that was held here in the council chambers? Yeah, so that was the Brown Act ethics training that was put on by the city clerk's office.
So that's not the bias training. So the bias training that we recommended that the city have, and that the city council then approved, and that Matthew was able to arrange, happened I think a couple months ago, and I did report on that, and that was attended by myself and Commissioner Godo and Councilmember Menchaca, and Councilmember Rivera. We all attended that actual bias training. So happy to report on other things, but that was that. So just to clarify that. And then the second thing to clarify is that I have not made any proclamations. All proclamations that the city council presents are developed by the city clerk, is my understanding, and read by the city council. So the proclamation for Native American Heritage Month, which I think is what you're referring to, last month was developed by the city clerk. And whatever information was there was the information that they investigated. And I know that there is hopefully a lot that we will learn about our local Native American tribes and the indigenous community here. And there is a lot of miscommunication and miseducation concerning the correct names for those tribes that I wouldn't pretend to understand because I don't have that education. But proclamations, I haven't ever made any proclamations to the city council. The proclamation that was read last year was a city proclamation that was developed by the city clerk.
So for the purpose of the proclamation, so I believe Chief Salas has mentioned a previous proclamation from quite a few years ago, maybe a few decades ago even, that specifically addresses Tongva, that was provided by a previous mayor. Now, I'm not sure if you're referring to a proclamation that was done in support of the Native American Heritage Month recently, or was it the last year? Okay. So we can definitely look at that and then bring that back to council and Mark. Or thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commission, and I appreciate the question, Commissioner Fitzsimmons. Chair Jennings Nunez is right that that was a proclamation that was prepared by the city in honor of Native American Heritage Month. And knowing that this commission was going to be working on the land acknowledgement statement, we stayed completely out of deciding, what the right name would be for the proclamation. And we hope that that's one of the things that can come out of the land acknowledgement statement. But for that proclamation itself, we talked to both of the Native American groups that are predominant in our city, and we came up with a name that maybe didn't satisfy either, as you sometimes do when you make compromises. And so the name was one that was sort of chosen as the compromise for that proclamation, but we certainly didn't declare what the right name was or what the official tribe was for the city of San Gabriel. We purposely stayed out of any and all of those issues. And Matthew's right, there was a letter given by a former mayor and a former administration that did get into that discussion a little bit, but we have not done that for several years.
Will they in the future, the tribe be recognized by the city as being the native tribe?
I don't know what the plans are for the future in deciding that, but we certainly are working to figure out, as certainly part of the land acknowledgement statement.
Because that was his biggest concern, was that he wanted to make sure that this tribe was recognized by the state or by the city of San Gabriel as being the Native American tribe, because they are recognized by the state of California.
Yeah, we're working right now with both of the groups and trying to get something for that land acknowledgement statement. And what happens after that, I can't promise, but one thing at a time.
Yeah.
If I may as well, so part of the report that will go back to council is some of those key points that both chiefs have mentioned. So in that way, the council has a complete picture of what they're looking at, the proposed statement, as well as where it could be used, and any key things that the committee feels should be included as of note during the kind of the discussion along the way. I think the committee as a whole has learned a lot. And so I think that the committee doesn't want it to stay with just the committee. So if there's information that can be transcribed to the city council, then the city council can make an informed decision from there. So I do appreciate you bringing that up. And like Mark said, there's no necessarily clear direction, but I think that the first positive step is having those meetings with them that have already taken place.
Right,
and
because
then providing that to
yeah,
council.
he has a lot of the documentation that is provided by the state stating what they are. So that's, I'm sure, very helpful, and he'd be more than happy to share it with anybody.
Sure, thank you.
Commissioner Borja?
Mine's just going to be short and sweet. I just attended the Cinco de Mayo along with Commissioner Herrera, and I believe Chair Jennings was there too, and it was an enjoyable event with the folklorico dances that were going on and food trucks and just people really enjoying themselves. That's all.
Thank you. And now we'll go to staff comments. So staff members will have the opportunity to address the commission and public on matters of general information and or concern. Matthew, do we have any staff comments tonight?
I do not, if this other staff do not.
Mark just reminded me, I'm happy to embarrass Matthew Morales-Stevens and let you all know that he has been promoted to the position of Community Services Manager. So I'm happy to announce that.
Well done.
Congratulations. Although as we clap, I will selfishly ask, what does that mean for us? He's not leaving, right?
I don't anticipate, we've not quite gotten there. His other position has not been filled yet, but I don't anticipate the change for the commission. But we will be altering some of his duties because, as you can imagine, one person cannot quite manage what he's been doing plus all the other duties. So.
Yes. So
More
thank
to
you.
come.
We definitely acknowledge your hard work and
Right.
your promotion, and we congratulate you, but we don't want to lose you. So.
I
Well
second that.
deserved, well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On that high note, we will get to our adjournment. So the next regular HERE Commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 28th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Information regarding matters to be considered at each meeting will be available on the Friday before the HERE Commission meeting on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. This regular meeting is now adjourned at 7:57 p.m. Thank you.